The old rain-warped sign outside read Burke's Antiques, but most of the town just called it the house that never slept. Miles of glass cases filled with faces, dolls, mannequins, porcelain angels, all staring outward as if waiting for someone who would never come. On nights when thunder rolled across Ashford Valley, locals swore they saw those faces move, turning slightly toward the road whenever a car passed. Inside, the air smelled like dust and candle wax, thick with something that didn't belong to time. Harper Lowell had driven for hours just to get here, hands trembling on the steering wheel, her voice recorder still running from the last interview. The rain followed her like it had been chasing her all week, drumming against the windows as she pushed open the heavy door. A bell jingled faint, old and tired. "Hello?" she called softly, but her voice seemed to vanish before it touched the shelves. Her sneakers squeaked against the wooden floor as she walked deeper into the shop, past rows of cracked mirrors and old clocks that ticked out of rhythm. Somewhere above, a faint creak echoed like slow footsteps. "I'm closing soon," a man's voice rasped. Harper turned, and there he was, Mr. Burke, thin as a shadow, wearing a faded vest and round glasses that caught the light like twin moons. "I'm sorry," Harper said, breathless, holding up her press badge. "I called earlier. I'm with the Heritage Journal. You said I could photograph the collection." Burke's lips twitched, half a smile, half a warning. "Photographs are fine," he murmured, "but don't touch the glass." His eyes drifted toward a narrow hallway in the back, lined with display cases sealed shut with old brass locks. Some things don't like being disturbed. Harper's camera strap slid down her arm as she followed his gaze. There, at the very end of the hall, sat a single display, a glass coffin the size of a child's cradle. Inside was a doll, pale and perfect, with black hair pinned into curls and one hand missing, the stump wrapped neatly in lace. Its eyes, no, her eyes were made of real glass, so lifelike they seemed wet. Harper felt her throat tighten. That one. "What's her story?" she asked quietly. Burke's hand twitched toward his pocket before he spoke. "That one's not for sale," he said sharply, then softened. "They say she was found in a burned house outside of Savannah. Belonged to a collector who never left his home. When the firemen broke in, they found the doll sitting by the window, untouched. Everything else was ash." Harper leaned closer to the glass, camera forgotten. The doll's lips were slightly parted, and behind the pane, condensation formed as if she were breathing. Burke turned away. "The rain brings her moods," he said softly. "It's best not to stare too long." But Harper couldn't look away. The longer she stared, the more she felt like the doll was thinking, that somewhere behind those eyes was awareness. The storm outside cracked the windows with a burst of thunder. The lights flickered. And in that half-second of darkness, Harper swore she saw the doll's head tilt ever so slightly toward her. When the light came back, it was still again, but her reflection in the glass wasn't hers. It was smiling. Burke's voice came low behind her. "I told you not to touch the glass." She stepped back, shaking, whispering, "I didn't." Burke stared at her for a long moment, then sighed. "They all say that." He turned the sign on the door to closed. "You'd better stay until the storm passes." Harper nodded numbly, her eyes still locked on the coffin. Outside, lightning tore across the valley. Inside, something inside the glass blinked, and the sound that followed wasn't thunder. It was a small, hollow giggle. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 2, around 1,000 words, where Harper stays overnight in Burke's shop and begins discovering what the collector really meant by "they all say that"? The rain never stopped that night. It fell like a curtain of silver across the small town, wrapping Burke's Antiques in an endless hum that drowned every sound except the ticking of clocks and the distant rattle of wind against the shutters. Harper sat at the counter with a cup of stale coffee that Burke had offered her, her camera resting beside the recorder, still blinking red. "You keep a recorder on all the time?" he asked, voice almost lost in the noise of the storm. She nodded. "I don't like missing details. People forget what they said in the dark." Burke's gaze drifted toward the hallway. "Sometimes that's mercy." His hands trembled slightly as he reached to light another candle, the flame throwing long shadows across his face. That doll, Harper began carefully, was it part of your family's collection? Burke hesitated, then looked toward the coffin again. My father brought her home when I was a boy, he said quietly. Said she was an antique from an estate sale down south. But she's older than that, older than him, older than the house that burned. He looked up sharply. You can feel it, can't you? Harper swallowed, pretending to focus her lens. Feel what? The attention, Burke murmured. It's like being watched from behind your own eyes. Thunder cracked, shaking the shelves. A porcelain angel toppled and shattered. Burke didn't move. Harper did. Her camera flashed instinctively, capturing shards mid-air. When she looked at the screen, something in the reflection behind Burke made her heart stop. A face, small, white, smiling. But when she turned around, there was nothing but shadows and dolls with cracked lips. Burke sighed and motioned to the corner chair. You can stay till morning, he said softly. The roads flood fast here. Don't open that door again tonight. Harper nodded, thanking him, but her eyes lingered on the coffin. The candlelight caught on the glass, making the doll's eyes shimmer like they were wet with tears. After midnight, Burke disappeared upstairs, his footsteps fading into the creaking ceiling. Harper sat alone, editing her photos. Each picture came out darker than it should have been, even the bright ones. The doll appeared in more frames than she'd taken, showing up behind her reflection, between mannequins, in mirrors that shouldn't have caught her angle. Then came the sound, faint, almost beneath hearing, like nails tapping from inside a box. TCAK, TCAK, TCAK. Harper froze. The recorder picked it up clearly. She lifted the camera toward the hallway. The tapping stopped. Then, from deep in the shadows, a whisper, a child's voice, soft and hollow. It's cold in here. Harper's body locked. She rose slowly, heart pounding, the red light of her recorder flashing like a warning. Mr. Burke? No reply. The whisper came again, this time from behind the glass. Please, let me out. Her camera shook as she stepped forward, filming. The coffin's surface was fogged over now, as though someone inside were breathing. She leaned close, her own reflection merging with the doll's, and saw a faint movement beneath the lace-covered stump. Something twitched. She stepped back, breath breaking in her throat. No, that's not real. The candle went out. The shop fell into blackness except for the faint green glow of the recorder. Harper fumbled for her flashlight, flicked it on, and the beam landed directly on the coffin. The doll was sitting upright, her head tilted, her eyes fixed on Harper's face. The lace over the missing hand was soaked in red. Harper stumbled backward, knocking over a case. Glass shattered, and dozens of porcelain faces rolled across the floor, grinning, broken. She pointed the light again, but the coffin was empty. The glass door hung open. A small voice whispered from behind her. You touched the glass. Harper spun, screaming, the flashlight swinging wildly across the shelves. Every doll in the room had turned toward her all at once. Burke's voice came shouting from the stairs. Don't move. His old boots slammed down step after step as he appeared in the doorway holding a lantern. His face was pale, eyes wide with terror. I told you not to touch it. I didn't, she tried to say, but her voice broke. Burke's lantern flame trembled. Once she breathes your name, he whispered, she'll never stop following. Harper's flashlight flickered. She turned toward the coffin again. The doll was back inside, perfectly still, lips curled just enough to show tiny teeth. The whisper came one last time, almost tender. Good night, Harper. The lantern blew out, and the last thing she saw before darkness swallowed the shop was her own reflection in the glass, smiling when she wasn't he. The rain slowed by morning, but the sky over Ashford Valley stayed bruised gray, the kind of color that looked like something dying above the clouds. Harper woke on the antique shop's dusty couch with her recorder still running and the smell of candle wax in her hair. The place was too quiet, no ticking clocks, no humming refrigerators, just a silence so thick she could feel it pressing on her ears. Her camera sat on the counter where she'd dropped it. The screen cracked, still showing the last frame she remembered before everything went dark, her reflection smiling back at her from inside the glass coffin. Burke was nowhere to be seen. His old lantern sat cold by the stairs, wick burned to the end. Harper called out softly, "Mr. Burke." But her voice sounded wrong, distant, as if someone else said it at the same time. She shook her head, forcing herself upright. The store looked different in daylight. The dolls didn't seem to watch her anymore, their faces dull and harmless. Maybe it had been a trick of the storm. Maybe she'd imagined it all. She hit play on the recorder. A faint hiss, then her own voice whispered through static, "Please, let me out." Harper's stomach dropped. That wasn't her. She rewound and played it again. The same line, only now a second voice joined it, soft and childlike. "I said it's cold in here." Something moved behind the counter, a shadow too solid to be dust. Harper turned, heart hammering, but it was only Burke, emerging from the cellar. He looked older, his clothes covered in dust, his eyes hollowed. "You didn't sleep much," he rasped. Harper swallowed. "What's in the basement?" Burke's hands trembled as he set down a wooden crate. "Memories," he said. "Things I can't throw away." She caught a glimpse of what was inside: broken porcelain limbs, eyes, curls of black hair tied with old ribbon, each piece tagged with faded names written in neat handwriting. "Eleanor, Ruth, Jane, you collect them?" Harper asked quietly. Burke didn't answer. Instead, he lifted something from the bottom of the crate, a thick, leather-bound journal. The title etched into the cover read "The Collector's Ledger." He ran his thumb over it like it was a scar. "My father wrote these," he said. "Every doll in this store came from a place that burned, drowned, or was buried. He said he was saving them, but I think—" Burke's voice faded. "I think he was keeping something in." Harper opened the book. Each page held drawings of dolls, names beside them, dates of deaths. The last entry stopped her heart. "Harper Lowell 2023 unconfirmed." Her hands shook. "Why is my name here?" Burke's face twisted with shame. "Because she already chose you." The air in the room shifted. The light dimmed, though the clouds hadn't moved. From the hallway came a slow, rhythmic knocking, gentle, deliberate. "TCAK, TCAK, TCAK." Harper stepped back, clutching the recorder like a weapon. "No. You said she's locked up." "You said." Burke turned toward the sound, eyes wet. "You can't lock something that was made to be seen." The knocking stopped. Silence. Then a low hum began vibrating through the floorboards, like a heartbeat buried beneath the wood. The glass cases shuddered. One by one, the dolls began to fall, landing face down, their porcelain skin cracking open like eggshells. Inside each hollow face was not cotton or stuffing but small scraps of paper, curled and yellowed. Harper picked one up, unfolding it with trembling hands. Her own name was written on it, in perfect cursive. She backed away, voice breaking. "What is this?" Burke whispered. The collector believed souls could be saved if they were sealed in likeness. He made hundreds before the fire took him, but the fire didn't burn her. Lightning flashed outside, even though there was no thunder now. Harper's reflection flickered in the glass again, smiling that wrong, slow smile. Then she heard it, a voice, not inside the room, but in her head, soft, young, patient. "You already touched the glass." Her pulse spiked. "No, no, I didn't," the voice laughed. "Yes, you did." She turned to run, but the shop was changing, the walls stretching, cases twisting, shelves tilting as if the building itself were breathing. The door that led outside was gone. In its place stood the coffin, upright now, the doll standing inside it like a girl waiting for applause. The stump of her missing hand was gone, replaced by pale, perfect fingers. Burke fell to his knees, voice cracking. "She only takes one at a time." Harper stepped back as the doll's eyes flickered, catching light like living pupils. "Why me?" she whispered. Burke's answer came like a prayer. "Because you believed her." The doll blinked. Harper's recorder hissed, distorting until only one line remained clear. You said you wouldn't leave me alone. The coffin door burst open, and the glass that had once held her prisoner shattered outward. The air turned thick, like breathing through ashes. Splinters of glass floated in the dim light, glittering as they sank into the floorboards. Harper staggered backward, gripping the edge of a table to stay upright. Every sound around her was muffled, as if the entire room were underwater Burke shouting something she couldn't understand, the old clock hammering out a broken rhythm, her own heartbeat crashing in her ears. The doll that had been inside the coffin was standing now, not walking, standing. The way its head tilted forward was wrong. Too smooth, too precise. Its porcelain skin shimmered faintly, catching the dull gray daylight, and Harper could see faint blue veins beneath it, as if something alive was breathing just under the surface. She tried to move, but her feet felt nailed in place. The recorder in her hand was shaking violently, picking up every tremor in the air. A soft voice whispered through it, delicate and familiar, you shouldn't have opened your eyes. Harper flinched and threw the recorder to the ground, but it kept playing, echoing her own breath back at her in broken loops. Burke was inching toward the coffin, muttering under his breath, voice breaking, "She's awake. She's awake again." I told him she wasn't ready. He looked at Harper with wild terror. "You need to leave. Now." "I can't," Harper whispered. "There's no door." And it was true, the entrance had vanished. The front windows were gone too, replaced by solid walls of wood and glass cases stretching endlessly in both directions. Every surface reflected her face not once, but hundreds of times, distorted and delayed, each reflection moving a heartbeat slower than the real her. Burke reached into his coat and pulled out a rusted key, pressing it into her trembling hand. "The basement," he rasped. "She can't follow you down there." But before she could move, the doll turned its head toward him. A faint cracking sound rippled through its porcelain neck as it rotated far past what was humanly possible. Its mouth opened slowly, soundless at first, then a low groan spilled out, layered and ancient, like 100 voices speaking through one throat. Burke dropped to his knees, clutching his head. "Don't listen," he screamed. Harper ran. She didn't know where the stairs were, only that she needed to move before the thing reached her. The store twisted as she moved, shelves rearranging, hallways bending. Every step echoed wrong, like someone was walking just a fraction behind her. She stumbled into the back room and found the trapdoor Burke had mentioned, the one that led to the cellar. The metal handle burned her palm when she touched it, but she forced it open and slipped down into the darkness. The air below was colder, damp with rot and something metallic. She flicked her phone flashlight on. Dozens of dolls lined the basement shelves, each wrapped in clear plastic. Some were missing eyes. Others had their faces half carved, as if the work had been abandoned mid-creation. But it wasn't the dolls that froze her blood, it was what was behind them. Photos. Hundreds of black and white photos pinned to the stone wall. Women, children, men, all smiling stiffly in front of the same antique shop sign, Ashford Antiques. Every picture was labeled with a name and a year. The last photo was of her, taken from her own online blog page dated 2 days ago. Harper's flashlight flickered, and she caught sight of something glinting in the shadows. A mirror leaned against the far wall, draped with a torn sheet. Her stomach turned. She didn't want to see, but something inside her, curiosity, or fear, or that strange pull she'd felt since last night, made her step closer and rip the sheet away. For a moment, it was just her reflection. Pale, shaking, eyes wide. Then her reflection smiled. Her real face didn't. She stumbled back, tripping over a crate, but the reflection didn't move. It stayed upright, smiling calmly. Then, slowly, it lifted its hand, and inside its palm was the missing porcelain hand from the doll upstairs. It pressed it against the glass. Harper's skin crawled. "Stop it," she whispered. "Please stop." The reflection tilted its head, exactly like the doll. Then it whispered, but the voice didn't come from the glass. It came from behind her. You're not the first one she liked." Harper spun around. Burke was standing halfway down the stairs, shaking uncontrollably. Blood trickled from his nose. "She's part of him," he croaked. "The collector didn't die in the fire, he became her. He made her from every soul he couldn't let go of." Harper's flashlight flickered again, and she saw something behind Burke's shape in the shadows, crawling down the stairs on all fours, its porcelain face shattered, the eyes replaced by two black pits. Burke didn't see it. "Run!" She screamed, but it was too late. The thing lunged, grabbing him by the shoulders and dragging him into the dark. His scream cut off instantly, replaced by the sound of cracking bone and glass grinding against flesh. Harper froze. Then, through the silence, came the voice again, calm, almost tender. "He kept me safe. Now you'll keep me." The flashlight died, and for a single heartbeat before the darkness swallowed everything, Harper saw dozens of faces watching her from the shelves, not dolls anymore, but human, eyes wet, mouths stitched, the collector's work. Never finished.